We come together today to urge New York City's largest banks to reform their loan modification policies so that they are more responsive and effective for families facing foreclosure. As the system is currently set up, the interests of lenders and borrowers are not always aligned, and as a result, there is often an absence of incentives for banks to help homeowners in trouble. Now, that's clearly reflected in inadequate customer service that homeowners receive, unreturned phone calls, misinformed bank representatives, paperwork that gets lost and must be resubmitted time and time again, and frustrating red tape and delays that are just some of the many obstacles that have faced struggling homeowners trying to modify their loans and stay in their homes.
First, I'd like to thank the Comptroller for taking the lead on this and all my colleagues who are standing here with me, as well as New York communities. This is something that is very, very important to all of us. We understand what the economy is doing to the community of New York City. We see it in the schools every day. We've seen it slowly eroding our school system because of budget cuts, and we see our children struggling as well as the members struggling as the economy gets tougher. The government put programs in place. It is not happening. Loan modifications are critical as the foreclosure rate in New York City continues to grow. It is critical that the banks understand and start working in a more collaborative and speedy way to help families who are trying to do the right thing. These are good people trying to do the right thing, trying to keep their homes, trying to keep shelter for their family, and also trying to keep their community strong. So this is something that we're hoping, by gathering here today and sending this letter, we are hoping that the banks reach out to us and say, what can we do to make this process easier for people that we know who are trying to do the right thing? Because when times are tough like this, if we can't reach out and help each other, then we know that things will just continually get worse for all, and that is not what anyone who is standing here wants to happen.
Foreclosures were up 16% in New York City during the first quarter of 2010 compared to last year. This means that more New Yorkers live in fear of losing their home. More New Yorkers are concerned about the impact that a potential foreclosure could have on their credit and futures, and more New Yorkers worrying about where they and their children will sleep next night. These challenges won't solve themselves, which is why we've come together to call on banks to stop this loan modification merry-go-round. We are reaching out to JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, HSBC, and Wells Fargo to answer key questions about the modification process, including what efforts they are undertaking to respond promptly to customers' requests and inquiries about loan modifications, to pause foreclosure proceedings while the banks evaluate a borrower's eligibility for a loan modification or other foreclosure prevention option. And what are they doing to expedite the loan modification process itself? Our purpose here is not to assign blame, but to bring the parties together. And we want to work with the banks to develop some common sense solutions to these challenges which have devastated communities for far too long.
My name is Jamie Fidler, and I have been a first grade teacher in the New York City public schools for the past 7 years. My husband and I bought our fixer-upper home in Sunset Park, Brooklyn 3 years ago. It is a two-family house, and like so many people, we subsidize our mortgage payment with a rental income. After many months of struggle, we heard about the loan modification program and applied immediately with Bank of America in August of 2009. I was told that we fit the criteria for the program and that we should be hearing within 90 days. I did as I was instructed and called the bank weekly. I was repeatedly told that everything was in order and we just needed to wait. Then I called at the end of October and was told that I had applied for the wrong modification program. I needed to reapply, this time under the Obama modification plan. I asked incredulously, isn't that what I applied to the first time under your guidance? Apparently not. I was shocked that no one from the bank had informed me of this earlier. Reluctantly, we resubmitted all of our paperwork again and waited. In the interim, we made our mortgage payments in full and on time every month. I continued to call weekly and couldn't ever speak to the same person. When I asked the representatives for their names and if I could speak to them again, I was denied. During these conversations, I was often told that the phone number for the department I needed had recently changed. I was then transferred many times, and eventually I was disconnected, sometimes after being on the phone for over 3 hours. The bank continuously said that we needed to stay current on our mortgage, so we did everything we could to make this happen. We both got additional jobs. I now work 4 jobs, and my husband works 3. We were becoming increasingly frustrated with the loan modification process, so we contacted the Mutual Housing Association of New York. We resubmitted all of the paperwork again through them. Around this time, we started getting letters that we had fallen behind on our mortgage. I called the bank repeatedly and was told again and again that this was inaccurate and that this discrepancy happened as a result of our modification application. You see, since we applied for a modification, our monthly mortgage payments went to another department. I was told that this error would be fixed when our modification was approved. In June, we started getting letters from bankruptcy lawyers looking to represent us. Apparently, public records now indicated that we were behind on our mortgage. I checked our credit score, and sure enough, this information has lowered our credit score considerably. So I called the bank again and was told that they had never received January's payment. Remember, we are in June now. I had been calling weekly up to this point and was never told this information. As I spoke to the Bank of America representative, I looked at my checking account summary online, told her January's check number and when the check had cleared. She informed me that I needed to fax them that information and that they would look into it. It has been almost a year since we initially applied for a loan modification. We haven't gotten anywhere in this process, except that now our credit score has decreased due to their errors. Aren't we exactly who the bank should be helping? A city worker with a stable income, a family who pays their mortgage on time every month, a family who is fixing up their home, who clearly wants to stay and invest in their neighborhood.
There are thousands of people that are in this same condition. And we must remember, there came a time a couple of years ago when the financial community was in real trouble, and the taxpayers of this country and of this state in particular reached into their pockets and bailed out that community, because we know that we all have to survive to have a chance. And now all we're asking the banks is to remember that and to do the same thing with working people who are only fighting to keep the American dream, the dream of ownership of your own homes.
Today, TWU Local 100, representing the 38,000 men and women who run our transit system, have a message for the banks. You must restructure and modify your mortgage loans following established federal guidelines so that the workers you took advantage of initially have an opportunity to keep their houses and stop the foreclosures. Because you profited handsomely, it is now the time for you to pay back the workers that you profited off of. Local 100, with a seat on the board of the New York City Employees Retirement System, considers this a criteria for future investment decisions in the stocks of the banks and associated financial institutions that our members and all of New York's working families go to for mortgages and to buy houses for their families.
Every day, practically, in our church, in the community, we are interacting with people, and as it has been stated, I mean, just decent people trying to get a piece of the American dream, a little piece of the rock. These are decent people, and being manipulated and maneuvered and downright tricked out of the properties, in some instances, they've had for generations. If we can't help these people, if this society, these people who have so much money, if we can't help these people, Lord have mercy upon it. I shudder for this country when it cannot help the decent people.
It is in everybody's best interests to stem the tide of foreclosures. It seems that banks can do more, certainly with regard to their customer service. Put a priority on stopping foreclosures. And that is why we're asking these banks, these major banks here in New York City, to let us know, explain exactly what is being done at the customer service level to pay top attention and give top priority to stopping these foreclosures in the first place. We look forward to hearing from the banks, and we want to work very closely with them. Thank you.